Hey, I'm live. It is 3 o'clock. It is, I'm trying to turn on my lights here. Hey, it is 3 o'clock on Wednesday, and we are live. Hey, we have a jam-packed show today. I've got Robert Phillips. He is not only a safety expert, but he's the author of Safer Is as Safer Does. And he really specializes in safety when it comes to realtors. We're going to go over some things when he comes on the show. We'll be coming on in just a few minutes after our little commercial. But for right now, I also wanted to share with you that, I've been kind of promoting this whole builder versus realtor thing. And as you saw in the promos, that it's a conversation that's long overdue. I mean, there's a lot of kind of controversy when it comes to relationships between realtor and builders. I keep seeing posts on social media, complaints, if you will, about things that happen with the builder and that process. And as most of you know, I do come from the builder world. That's my background before going into making the switch into what I call general real estate. So I'm actually very pro builder. So this is not going to be a show where we beat up on the builders, but we're going to have a very interesting dialogue later on in the show after we talk with Robert Phillips and kind of focus on realtor safety. We're going to switch it over to the realtor versus builder theme, and we're going to have a conversation and really kind of figure out how to not only communicate better with the builders, but we're going to talk about some of the things that maybe need to change on our end and on the builder's end. So you want to stay tuned for that. We've also got a brand new segment I'm really excited about. It's called the Mortgage Minute, and we're going to run it a little bit early in the show today because, hey, it's a new segment. So we want to get that out there. It's by Guild Mortgage, and we appreciate it's Erica Davis is going to be coming to you in a minute, literally in a minute, with the Mortgage Minute. And then we're going to have this as a regular, normal segment from here forward. It's really, the idea here is that we're going to be able to hear weekly just maybe a brief thing that we need to know from mortgage lenders as realtors that would help us in growing our business and staying in communication. Yes, thank you, Robbie, the producer, for not only doing the lights, the phones, the production, but everything. I appreciate that. It kind of snuck up on us today. We had a lot going on in the studio. As we talked about, it was a jam-packed show. So we're also going to have Realtor of the Week and a few other things, some exciting things. We've got a special guest coming in studio here with us for that builder versus realtor. And then next week, we're going to have on, which we'll talk about later in the show as well, but we'll actually have a builder in studio here next week. And it's a very, very special builder with some very unique propositions for us as realtors. That's one you don't want to miss for sure. That's going to be next week. So for right now, let's go and take a look at the Mortgage Minute, and then we're going to come back with our special guest, Robert Phillips. Safer is as safer does. We'll be back in a minute. You're watching Under Contract Live.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica Davis with Guild Mortgage here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, here with your Mortgage Minute. This week, mortgage rates started out moderately higher than our all-time September lows that we experienced, and that was from a very strong manufacturing report. But again, I just want to stress they're still so low. So it's a great time for buyers to be in the market to purchase a home. And also wanted to talk to you. I've gotten a lot of realtors calling concerned when they see that pre-qualification letter come over using FHA financing. Have you ever found yourself in that position? Well, I just want to assure you that it's not that scary of a product. I think it got a bad rap a couple years ago when it had the higher mortgage insurance premium, and maybe that was all, a credit challenged client could qualify for. But it's a great loan program. It really helps, especially with us, to allow more flexibility when it comes to debt to income ratio. So that means more potential buyers for you. It also helps to keep a lot of clients' interest rate very low because you don't have those credit score adjustments that you do with conventional financing. So it may just be that they don't have a large credit profile. Therefore, their score may be a little bit lower, and that's a great option for them. So don't let it scare you away. Again, it's a great product. And I'll be back next week with another Mortgage Minute.
Hey, welcome back from that brief mortgage minute. Thank you, Erica Davis with Guild Mortgage. We appreciate that word. And the next special guest today, is Mr. Robert Phillips. He's out of Dallas, Texas. He is the author of Safer Is as Safer Does. He's on the line with us right now. Welcome to the show, Robert.
How you doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Hey, you know what? You are in huge demand in the real estate industry. I keep seeing so many things that you're doing working with realtors. And first of all, as a realtor, I want to say thank you for your efforts in helping to keep us safe. And today, I want to really get into kind of some things that realtors need to know about safety, and and just kind of looking at some of the material that you have authored. I think that there's a little bit different perspective in the sense that I think when I go out, I kind of think okay, I'm going to an open house, I'm going to be somewhere by myself, and worst comes to worst, I'll do this if this happens. But maybe there's more to it. Talk about that for a moment as realtors listen in.
Okay, and thank you, David. First of all, I was robbed at gunpoint in an extremely scary situation over a decade ago, and so this is, I do have firsthand knowledge of what it's like when something like that happens. And even though I had managed to live my life up to that point with nothing ever happening, why was that next day going to be any different? And a lot of times the thinking among real estate agents is, I've been going and meeting strangers at properties for 10 years or 15 years or 5 years or 1 year, or I've been going and taking photos of vacant homes by myself. I've been doing X amount for so long, nothing's ever happened. And to your question about, specific situations, safety is about a mindset. And a lot of people say, okay, if A happens, what is B? If D happens, what is E? And it doesn't really work like that. The reason the company is called proactive seminars as opposed to reactive seminars is because I'm all about you working your business and living your life in a way that you don't end up in those situations to begin with, and same for real estate.
Yeah, so and I want to clear up one other thing too, because I mentioned kind of like my thought process on kind of being prepared, if you will, when I go to maybe an open house or showing, and I'm a guy, right? But obviously when we think about realtor safety, I think we lean more towards females. Like, are females first of all more vulnerable? And the other question would be, do males even really need to be as concerned?
Well, and that is the prevailing, mindset in society is women, because the statistics bear it out, that women, because of their sheer size for the most part and lack of physical strength, certainly I'm not being specific, I'm just saying generally, then they are going to be more likely to be targets. Now, the realtor in Milwaukee, probably less than a year ago, he was a pretty big man, and he was not, he was going to a property to meet what he thought was to meet a woman. And so I'm sure he was not worried about her at all. She was considerably smaller than he was. But when he walked into the house, her boyfriend met him with a gun pointed right between his eyes. And so she was actually the lure to get him in there. So men are absolutely just as, easy to become victims as a woman. But yes, men need this as well. And it's not for necessarily they don't think that they can handle themselves. We've all got women in our lives that we're responsible for, that we need to protect. So the more we know, the better. So if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for the females and the other people in your family and your colleagues. If you're not going to set the example and get the training, don't think that it's all just for women, because it's not.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, one of the things I thought about was, what are some of the things that, aside from the most obvious, of trying to be somewhat prepared. I mean, I've heard things like, if you're in a property, you want to make sure that there's nothing between maybe you and an exit, things like that. But you talked about having a total different mindset. Are there some practical tips, some things that you would say, hey, you just don't need to do this at all, or hey, you really need to implement this thing? Maybe talk about that.
Sure. There are a lot of tips there's a lot of checklist type items that are definitely valuable. But, one of the things they teach you as a real estate agent is when you're showing a property, let the person walk in front of you, right? You've heard that.
Yes.
When you walk into a room, let them go first. Well, if the stranger that you met at that property happens to be a Ted Bundy, I can guarantee you it's not going to matter if he goes first or you go first. The bottom line is those types of tips are not keeping you safer if you're going and meeting strangers at properties. Because once you have gotten to that point, you have isolated yourself, and criminal predators thrive on isolation. And so, you hear in real estate, it's all about location, location, location. But when it comes to being safer for real estate agents or anyone else, it's all about avoiding isolation, isolation, isolation. If you're isolated, once you've gotten to that point, you've already messed up.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, during your seminars, when you're live and you're speaking in front of realtors, do you get the impression that some of the realtors kind of maybe finally have an aha moment where they're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I might need to, listen to this?
Well, that's a good question, and here's the aha moment. Regardless of how a real estate agent decides to do their business, okay, none of us like change, right? For the most part, we don't want to do things differently than we've been doing because it's a comfort zone, and especially if you've been successful, then, absolutely. I always ask the agents in my class one question. If you had a 21-year-old daughter who just got her real estate license, would you want her conducting her business the way you conduct yours? And that's it. And I've had a lot of agents say, they'll sit there and shake their head. No, I would never want her going and meeting strangers at properties. I would never want her going to a vacant home to take pictures like the realtor in South Bend a couple of months ago that got raped. That's the question I would ask. That's the aha moment, because when I start talking about kids or grandkids or things like that, that's when everybody perks up, because obviously you're talking about, their loved ones, and nobody wants to see anything happen to their loved ones.
Yeah, and no matter how old we are, we always think of our children as being so much more vulnerable. And so I think that's a great way to kind of really have it hit home, and it's not unrealistic. I mean, obviously we have new agents every single day that are entering the business and are brand new to the business. In fact, right now at a rate that's unbelievable. So these are definitely things that we need to have maybe more of a focus, and I'm glad that we've been able to have this conversation. So Robert, share with us kind of, first of all, I'm pulling your book up on the screen real quick, and share with the viewers how they could potentially get a hold of this book if they want to know more, or how they can contact you and maybe some of your upcoming events.
Sure, absolutely. Well, the book was a labor of love. I'm sure anybody who's ever written a book would probably say the same thing. It's a lot more involved than what you probably think in the beginning. But it was written to be very friendly as far as a time constraints, I guess. It takes about an hour to read the book, and it is the straightforward, hardcore, these are the safety principles that that any agent needs to implement these into your life. If you don't apply them to your life, then just sitting in a class or reading a book is not going to be very effective. There is a Facebook business page called facebook.com/BeSafeAgent, and certainly there's a shop now button if they want to purchase the book. And the other audience that the book was written for was actually my friends that are real estate partners that have been supporting my programs for years, the title companies, the home warranty, the foundation repair, the mortgage person. I would love for them to co-brand the book and be able to give it to the agents that they do business with as a personal, thank you. We want you to be safer. We care about you, and give them something valuable and, that can make a difference. And hopefully they'll read it and pass it on.
Yeah, and I know that you've had some of those businesses and partnerships that have approached you to do that very thing. So if we can help you in any way, obviously Under Contract Live, we have the mortgage lenders, the title agents, everybody watching the show. Here's an opportunity to be a part of Robert's efforts to keep all realtors safe. It's a great message and a very needed one. So I want to thank you, Robert, for coming on today. By the way, I love the cover, man. You did a great job with the Forrest Gump thing. I love that. Sitting on the bench by yourself, waiting for the next thing. Now, let me.
Exactly. You're right. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, did you happen to play a part in Apple stock and meet the president and be the Bubba Gump shrimp owner?
No, and I can't play ping pong to save my life.
No, hey, congratulations. Thanks again for what you're doing for all of us. And it was great to have you today on the show. It flew by. Realtors, make sure that you're reaching out to Robert Phillips. Robert, thank you for being on today.
Thank you, David. I appreciate the opportunity and love your show, man. And I'll do everything I can to help spread it out there. People need to be checking it out. It's actually pretty cool. I like it a lot.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you. All
right. Thanks, David.
Thank you. All right. There we have it. I think I can take off my headphones. I needed that for that phone call. But, yeah, hey, you're watching Under Contract Live, and we just spoke to Robert Phillips, author of Safer Is as Safer Does, and we're about to get into our Realtor versus Builder. Where's my whistle? I had that earlier on my promo. Let's see. All right, everybody plug their ears. Uh-oh, my producer's like, no, don't do that. But hey, we talked about this. This is a conversation that I have wanted to implement on this show since really its inception. And I think really because, the experience that I gained with the builder, this is something that obviously we work together, right? We have the builder, we have the realtor. It's a great relationship and can be amazing. In fact, I am very pro-builder, so this is not going to be a builder beat-up show, but we are going to bring out some concerns. We see a lot of posts on social media, and also in speaking with a broker just recently who has 250 agents. One of the things that he told me, because I sat and talked with him, and I said, hey, what is it that realtors, what's their real impression of going to a builder? What are those who aren't working hand in hand with builders? Why are they not doing it when there's so much opportunity, especially here in the Tampa Bay area? We've talked about the fact that new construction is booming. We know the real estate is booming. We're in the heyday. I keep saying it over and over again. I hope that you're taking advantage of that in your actions, because this is the heyday for real estate. But hopefully it's here for quite a while. So the thing is that with the boom in construction, and especially in these thriving markets like the Tampa Bay area, there's huge opportunities with builders. There's just no denying that, right? I can leave my home and I can drive 5 minutes and I can be exposed to 20 different builders here locally, among which are the largest in the country, right? So it's a great opportunity for us as realtors to be able to walk our clients into new home construction and have that opportunity to not only help them find their dream home, but actually make a commission from the realtor, just as if we were selling a pre-owned home on the market, right? So great opportunity. I think we would all agree with that. But there are some realtors that are still gun shy about it, and they may have some valid concerns. In fact, some of the postings on this week's social media, we're going to get into a few of them. This is your opportunity, by the way, to post live, and we're going to get into those comments in just a moment. I'm going to do one thing first before we get into it, because I have a guest that's coming into the studio here in just a moment. But I did want to announce the Realtor of the Week real quick. And the Realtor of the Week, by the way, this guy is I don't know. I keep saying every time we have a Realtor of the Week, I talk about how impressive they are, right? And how, wait a second, I know we've had Realtors of the Week and it's a great thing, but wait a second, you got to check out this guy or this gal, right? Well, today is one of those moments again. Johnny Lowy. He's here in Tampa. He is the owner and broker with Align Right Realty. And it wasn't long ago that Johnny was one of the top 50 brokers in the nation. And he sold the company that he had. He went on the road and did sales training for realtors. So he really is accustomed to pouring into realtors. It's one of the reasons that Johnny is the Realtor of the Week, even though he is a broker owner. He was named Realtor of the Week. He just had, by the way, an amazing event here in Tampa. It was first class, and he is a guy that I want to rub elbows with. You know, you are the sum of what do they say? The sum of 5 people that you hang out with. And I hang out with my producer too. So that kind of takes me down a few. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Robbie. No, that's not really true. Oh, he's muting me now. See, that's what happens when you say something bad about your producer. But hey, no, Robbie is just an amazing guy. Robbie, by the way, is one of the sponsors of the show. Not only is he producing the show, but he's helping to sponsor it. It's Robbie at RMT Media. Make sure that you check him out. But hey, congratulations. I mean, way cool congratulations for Johnny Lowy. That Lowy. I always want to say Lowry because, you know, it's like a kind of a different last name. It's Loewy, and you can find Johnny at AlignRightRealty.com. If you know Johnny, make sure you reach out to him and say, hey, saw you were the Realtor of the Week on Under Contract Live. So I'm going to go now. We're going to see if we can pull up our live feed here. And, we got a few comments here, and I'm going to refer back to some comments on social media as I bring in our next guest who should be standing at the door. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go to a quick commercial. We're coming right back. Builder versus Realtor. It's on like Donkey Kong. Thanks for tuning in to Under Contract Live. We'll see you next week in our brand new studio. #boom.
Thank you, my good.
Hey, we're live. We are back in studio for the Builder versus Realtor event. And hey, I have got someone on the show that's never been on the show before. And I got to say that I don't usually say this on the show because I think it could sometimes be unprofessional. But I'm going to take a stab at it right now and just say that you are mighty fine.
You're mighty crazy.
You are mighty fine, girl. Got it going on. Wow. You know what?
All right.
So, do you want to be a guest on Under Contract Live? No. Hey, this is my beautiful wife, Dina Cribbs, and she is an active real estate agent. And she is with Florida Luxury Realty, as am I. And she's going to help me out today with a few of these social comments, as well as her own experiences as a realtor when it comes to working with builders. And she can probably also attest to some of the nights I came home when I was working for the builder and, had some stories or had some realtor stories, just a couple. So we're going to jump into it now, and one of the things I was talking about just a little bit earlier, Dina, is that, when I was talking with this broker that has 250 agents, and I was asking him, why is it that realtors, some of the realtors that work with the brokerage, what would be their fear? Why are they not, focusing more on, going to a builder? And what he shared with me, which seems to be, by the way, the overwhelming consensus on online in these social posts, is the fact that realtors are afraid or have been cut out. They feel like they've been cut out of a deal, like they're not going to get their commission by working with the builder, or they take a risk if they bring their client to the builder. So, do you have any concern about that?
I do. Actually, I've had good experiences with builders. Most of my experiences with builders have been very good. In fact, I model minded for a few. I've done open houses for a few. And they're really good people out there. So, and most of them I have had really good relationships with. However, I think on the agent side, sometimes you feel like if you're filling out the card and you're putting your customer on there, are they keeping you on the deal? Or if you're sending like a prospect in there, are they keeping you on the deal? Or, it's something you kind of like worry about.
This really is the hot button. This is, again, I saw it over and over again on social media. And I think the thing is, there's so many different scenarios, right? Like the builders typically will, I'm going to speak for the builder that I worked for because it's the only one that I can. But I know that we were very pro, realtor. Like if you could show us just about in any way, we were going to try to make it work where we put you on the deal. So now I can't say that I don't have that experience with other builders, as you know. In fact, I'm going to tell a little secret here that that only one other person in the world knows, Adrian. I spoke to Adrian the other day about this, but when I left the builder to go into general real estate, I intentionally went to work for a builder initially so that I could get this new construction experience inside. And I didn't know if that was going to be a 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10-year venture. I really didn't know, but it turned out to be 18 months. And then one thing that I did do, because I just wanted to sort of check it off my list, and it might be one sort of regret that I have, is that I actually put in an application at 2 other builders after I left for employment. Both of those builders, by the way, I didn't get a call back from either one of them. Not even a call back. It's like, what am I, chopped liver? after having a great year and whatnot. But the point is, so I can't speak for multiple builders. We are, by the way, going to have a builder on the show next week, and we'll talk about some of these things, I'm sure, with the builder as well. But going back to that, we would kind of go out of the way to make sure that we accommodated, a realtor. But again and again and again, I hear this fear coming from the realtors, and I'm not sure if it's from bad experiences. I'm assuming that most of it is. We've got some comments that I'm going to read here on social media that where realtors kind of weighed in. Here's one that says, I wish builders wouldn't try to cut us out of the deal. So that, again, that goes right back to that. I have another one here when we talk about maybe once we have a deal with a realtor and builder, we talk about what that's going to look like. Let's say, for example, Dina, that you're happy with going to a builder, right? You want to go to a builder and have a good relationship. We know many of the realtors that do this. You talked about the fact, we had a conversation before about the fact that right after you got your license, you went to a builder expo, right? And
Yes.
This is essentially a place where all the builders got together in town, right? We're tons of builders and about 1,000 realtors, I think, maybe just under that came through this festival type atmosphere where they gave us all kinds of swag, right? They're courting us, and it was like this beautiful Disneyland relationship. And then like a week later, you go into one of the builders and it's like a sour like greeting.
Right. It was like, I understand they're going to have clients and maybe don't have that time to talk to you at that moment. But this one actually went in several times. And I just, again, many builders I have great relationships with and have great things to say about. Most of them, just this one experience, if we're going to talk about a negative part of it, is I went into a builder a couple times because I wanted to, have a relationship with them and get to know the people that work there. And it happened to be the same person the several times I went in, probably like 3 times I went in to see this builder because I really love Waterset, and that's our community. Oh, shoot, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But I love our community.
Okay,
we have
13 builders here,
so you
doesn't
can't
really matter.
to guess which one. But so I went in several times, and they were with the customer, of course, the first time. And I totally understand if they're with the customer, that's going to come first. But they didn't know what I was when I walked in the door either. But so I left my card, and they said they would call me back. And I'm not even giving a gender, but they said they would call me back. And I said, okay, great, because I was new. I wanted to find places to model mind or do open houses for some inventory homes, which are great ideas for new agents to kind of get your face out there and get going. So I didn't hear anything back. And then, so I went in like the next week because I want to keep my face in front of new home builders. It's a good idea. Although I've been super busy the last few weeks and haven't been able to do that. But,
don't tell those dirty secrets.
anyways,
so the bottom line is you didn't feel the same reception that you got. The
right.
impression of
and I did see this person at the home builders.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they were
very outgoing. Yeah, it is kind of funny how builders they will court realtors. They know that they need realtors, right? They're reaching out to, they're spending money on marketing for realtors. But then oftentimes they struggle with that realtor relationship once things get going. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the fact that when it comes to, this number one fear that you're going to get cut out of the deal, right? One of the new things that's happening, and I would encourage you to go and online and visit each realtor and visit each realtor's online concierge. Many of them have chat services. I know that we did as a builder. We're able to have a live conversation with kind of an online sales rep who would then set up appointments and things like that. So there was protection right away there. So that's one of the things that you could proactively do is make sure that you're going online and visiting the site and hopefully chatting with someone live. That way you can get your client registered typically with that online sales consultant. Another thing is that a lot of new builders are now going to an online registration process where you can actually go online and register.
I think that would be most helpful if all of them did that. I really think that's a great idea.
And it doesn't cure all the fears, and it doesn't necessarily cure everything. But also, I wanted to bring up this question. Realtors, you tell me what you think about this. But what about from the builder's perspective? I think that builders would like to say to realtors, "Hey, we want you, we need you, we love you, all that good stuff. But let's be fair, because we spend a lot of money in marketing to clients ourselves, and we've set up these beautiful communities. And when your client walks in and they don't say anything about working with you as a realtor, right? They don't bring that up at all, and then you want to call up later and say, "Wait a minute, that's my client I want on the deal," right? That's a little challenging for builders and salespeople, sales consultants in the new home models to kind of accept, right? Because it's like, wait a second, if your customer came in here and they came alone and they never brought up the fact that they had a realtor, they never talked about a realtor, they never expressed they were working with a realtor, they never expressed that they wanted to be represented by a realtor, and they're going to say, well, hey, who is the procuring cause of this sale? And that's a big thing with builders, and I believe very, very legitimate argument for builders.
Yes, I agree. I agree because if the client comes in and doesn't say who they belong to or who they're represented by, I mean, you would have no idea if you're the builder. Even in open houses, that's one thing, you have to ask and make sure you're getting your sign in and ask them, are you
working with a realtor?
Yes.
Because they won't necessarily volunteer that.
Then I'm going to talk to the realtor.
But here's the thing.
Instead of that client.
And this is one of the things I always talk about when I speak to realtors from that kind of the builder outlook is that, as realtors, we really have a responsibility to our clients and to ourselves to have a conversation with our client about new homes, even if we're looking at pre-owned homes. I talk with everyone that's looking for a pre-owned home that's a buyer. I also talk about the new home construction opportunity, and I talk about what that looks like. So not only are you doing your client justice, but you're setting yourself up to not have, at least you can handicap these situations where you can educate your consumer. Some of them, by the way, as a new home sales consultant, when someone comes in and a realtor maybe pops up later, some of them legitimately, the customers, and we know sometimes the customers will say what's in their best interest to say. I don't discount that, but for the most part, there were definitely consumers that legitimately did not know that they needed, nor did they know that they could even use the realtor on the new home side.
That's true. They probably do have that perception.
Yeah, because you think about it, well, it's brand new. It's the price is the price. It's not really negotiable. I guess I don't really need anything, right? But obviously we know that there are lots of reasons why they need that representation even with a new home. So, one of the things that I also wanted to talk about was the fact that what if, and how do you feel about this? And I'm going to pose this question to both builder and realtor. But what if, Dina, a client comes in and they register with the builder, right? And there's no word of you or whatever, right? They go and they visit new homes and they register, and maybe they're just kind of kicking tires or whatever the case may be. Then they get to a point where they're a little more serious about, hey, we want to maybe go make an offer or whatever. And then they reach out to you as the realtor and they say, hey, Dina, you know what? We were kind of kicking around. We actually went out and, drove around and looked at some new homes this week and whatever. And hey, we'd really like to talk to you because we found a new home we like. We'd like to talk to you about your advice and, if we should, do we need to use you for that kind of thing. What if you get that call? Should the consumer... Now, remember, they didn't register with us, right? They didn't register us as their realtor when they first went into the builder. So we weren't necessarily the procuring cause of the visit. But now that they've gotten a little further along, does the consumer have the right to say, well, hey, now I'm more serious. I want to make an offer on your home. And here's my realtor, Dina, and Dina always kisses her clients. No, she doesn't do that. But
oh my God.
Sorry. But do they have a legitimate argument? Who's really right there? Is it the builder or is it the? And by the way, we're going to assume in this scenario that the builder is not on board with having the realtor be a part of it because now they have not registered the guest. Because some builders have that. You have to register them before you make an offer. So I don't know. Who do you think's in the right?
Well, I think if it hasn't gone under contract yet, it would be...
Or haven't made an offer?
Right, haven't made an offer. That kind of thing. It would be a better scenario to bring in your realtor, that you've signed with, obviously, to represent you. Because actually, if we're going to go there, even if you're buying a new home
the builder says this? What if the builder says, what if the builder says,
at a point.
You had a point. You had a point. Well, we're married, so I can just do whatever, right?
No, I can actually.
Go ahead. What's your point,
the
ma'am?
point is that I feel like, every buyer needs representation from their own realtor. Okay. Whether they're buying a new home or not, especially if they're buying a new home, because no one's going to, the builder is not going to advise you to get an inspection. of the new home.
Well, the
True.
builders,
They're going to do an appraisal, obviously.
the builder's gonna argue that, hey, all the count, this is a new construction home. It's gone through 155 inspections, not only from us internally, but also all the municipalities have signed off that this is all good. All of that stuff. I get where you're going, though. The realtors play a great part in new construction. I mean, for the consumer, they can be there for walkthroughs. They can make sure that, hey, before my client shows up, make sure that the house is in this condition, right? We can hold off maybe appointments. We can do different things because really at the end of the day, we should be just like an attorney representing our client, right? When it comes to new home construction. And that reminds me, I had one of the complaints that I saw on social media was the fact that we had a situation where a realtor had a client who was out of town, who was out of state, and the realtor went to the blue tape or the walkthrough prior to closing, and they said, oh, wait a minute, you can't be here. You cannot do this walk for the client. And even though the client I don't know all the details of the permission. I'm sure there was permission, but I don't know if it was in writing, what the deal was. But one of the things that we can do there is even if the realtor or the builder maybe doesn't accept the in writing or an email or something like that, we can be thinking ahead. And this is where we need to kind of make sure that we're doing everything possibly to prepare ourselves for this whole walkthrough. And obviously, as we work, the more we work with new construction, the more that we understand about it, and the more kind of we can handicap it in our favor, meaning that less issues. But one of the things you could certainly do in that kind of scenario is secure a power of attorney, a limited power of attorney that allows you to represent the client in this walkthrough. So
like
that's,
if they're out of town.
Yeah, if they're not out of town. Because one of the things that I will say that that I found is that builders, although they are happy to sell homes to people who are out of state, and I think that process could become a little bit friendlier. And I think it is actually becoming friendlier because there's so much demand, especially here in Florida, with people moving from out of state, because we do know that in the new construction process there are certain, must make appointments, like the design center, the pre-construction, the thing. But now we're getting a little savvier, Skyping people in for these things, doing different things that make that work. But one of the things that that I wanted to share, and I just forgot about it. It just kind of went right out of my head. And it's your fault, by the way, because you had a point and then
Yes.
I lost it.
Right.
Right, there you go. So it was her fault. I love having you on as a guest. If I could have you as a guest every show, well, hey, it would be cool. So anyway, let's talk about, though, once we do have that relationship with the builder, once we enter that process of new home construction, one of the things that realtors commented on social media, and I'll read one from Tracy Kocher Ruffalo, I think that was right. She says, copy us on all correspondence and keep us in the loop. This is oftentimes where there's a breakdown with realtor and builder, is that, if I'm a new home sales consultant and I've got to reach out to the buyer, if I try to reach out to the realtor and they're not available, but I need to speak with that buyer, I'm just going to go next to the buyer, right? So so that's kind of playing the devil's advocate there, but that is really crucial. And do you think, let me ask you this, do you think the new home sales consultants have a responsibility to realtors to copy them on everything, to call them with all the scheduled meetings and things like that?
I would think yes, yes. I would say yes, they are.
I would agree with that. I think that's doing a great job as a new home sales consultant, not to place all of the responsibility on them, because certainly as a realtor, we need to be keeping up with our client and understanding where we're at in the process. But the beautiful thing about this new home construction as a realtor, it presents such an opportunity for us. Not only do we have, and by the way, I'm really grateful to builders because you are buying something brand new that is kind of available to people without using a realtor. The fact that they allow us to come in and sell those homes and that our system operates that way is amazing to me. I think that's a huge opportunity. But it also, think about this as a realtor, and I've talked about this before as one of the benefits of selling new home construction. But one of the things is that now you've got a client, Dina, in rapport. Oftentimes, by the time you finish a new home sale, you're best friends with person. It's someone that's been added into your life because you just spent the last 6, 7, 8 months with them. But it's an opportunity also because they're an ambassador for you every single day of the week. They're going and talking to their neighbors, their coworkers, all of this. And it can be a double-edged sword because if you're not doing your job as a realtor,
right,
the talk might be a little bit different.
Right. And I know there's struggles that like the new home construction faces, like just because they're building something new, there's going to be issues, and we can't jump to conclusions like they're totally like clueless about it either. And we got to also learn to keep our clients focused on the end result and not all the little the end result is going to be you're going to have a perfect home one way or the other. If it, the builder is usually aware if there's any issues before when the client walks in.
Yeah,
correct,
yeah. And let me just say this on behalf of the builder, because that's a great point you brought up. This is something I meant to cover. So you're amazing, honey. But one of the things is that I think as a builder, you have a little bit of a disadvantage when you're building your product in that your end consumer, the person who's buying your product, right? We already know who they are. And I don't mean demographically. I mean, we know who the exact person is, right? The person that bought that home. And we know that they get to watch us build it as we go, speaking as a builder. And that's kind of a handicap in a way, because if you think about it, it's kind of like, Dina, will you put together this, how you put playing cards together and you stack them up and you kind of make a tower, right?
Right.
Well, if I say, hey, Dina, I'll give you $100 if you stack these cards up for me this way, right? And I leave the room, and then I come back like 10 minutes later, and you're like working on this one. I'm like, Dean, wait, you're never gonna make it because you got that card out of place. Well, you know that, right?
Right.
You're just gonna get upset with me. So there is sort of a thing there that we have to educate our consumer in that, hey, you're watching something that's being hand built. And although it's great to have a second set of eyes, and as a realtor, that's our job too, right? To keep a second set of eyes on that project and make sure that if there's something we're happy to point it out. But we have to have patience with the builder, because the builder, 99% of the time, almost everything you catch, the builder is already aware of. But it's like, I got it.
Right.
I saw this last week, and they have to smile and say, we got you covered, right? So, and there's all these checks and balances that are kind of put in place to that. But it can be nerve-wracking. It can be, we went through the new home build,
right,
and you're watching things. Wait a minute, the door was supposed to be on this side. No, and then you're going, oh my gosh. Well, they can easy fix, right? Easy fix. So that would be one of the things. So yeah, and that, by the way, all of the things that we're talking about, when it comes, this is realtors, it's our responsibility to really brush up on this and take advantage of this new home opportunity with builders. Builders have a responsibility, realtors have a responsibility. So, coming together in a synergistic way where we can help our client instead of creating tension to where our client is stuck in the middle, right? Even if they're not seeing it necessarily, some of that communication with us and the builder, there could be ripple effects, and oftentimes they do see it because sometimes a realtor shares it with the customer. Sometimes it's like an us against them. One of the things I would recommend, because seeing this in new home sales, this is something I also saw pretty often, and I'm speaking for new home sales consultants here for a moment, but oftentimes we would have a realtor come in with a client and immediately take this posture of, this is my client, this is what we want, and have this posture of so overprotected, that it was like an antagonistical situation. It was like, really? I mean, we are all here for the same common goal, right? Yeah. To hopefully show our product and sell the home. And as a new home sales consultant, I was never upset with a client or a realtor who didn't see the value.
We got to lead our clients to a weighted decision in their favor.
That's right. You've been studying my sales training. Yes, lead the client to a weighted decision in their favor, but don't mislead them in any way. So that's kind of, we're getting a little off topic there. But the bottom line is, hey, there's an educational process that needs to take place with realtors. If you have not gone to some type of builder educational process or training when it comes to new home sales, you really owe it to yourself. There's such a huge opportunity there. And it just so happens, Dina,
Yes, Dave.
it just so happens that that we're actually working on right now. I'm working on curriculum. I'll have the agreements in place shortly, but we're going to be offering a new home certification process where you can become new home certified. And not only will you get to learn all the ins and outs of how to help your client through that process easier, but you'll learn how to work with the builder easier. And you're going to have some additional perks that I'll get into later, but it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I'll keep you posted as we move forward with that. I think we are way out of time, by the way. I think we're way over. My producer's like, yeah, we were over like 2 days ago. But appreciate your patience and watching me make out with my wife live on the air. That's certainly a little bit different than the normal show. I want to thank Robert Phillips, author of Safer Is As Safer Does. Make sure that you're reaching out to him. Follow him out of Dallas, Texas. And I want to thank Erica Davis with Guild Mortgage. I want to thank our sponsors and affiliates, BombBomb, Flamingo Lawn Care, RMT Media, Serial Sales Pro. It goes on and on and on. Thank you for watching Under Contract Live. And honey, I'm gonna let you split the honors with me.
Okay.
All right.
I've never done this before.
All right, let's go. Hey, we'll see you next week. By the way, next week, you don't want to miss that show. We do have a builder in studio, and it's not just a builder. It's going to be very exciting. I'm going to tease it for now, but I'll be starting to promote that tomorrow. See you later. Hashtag boom.
Hashtag boom.
Thanks for tuning in to Under Contract Live. We'll see you next week in our brand new studio. Hashtag boom.